I want to ask you, please also help me to thank Mahakasyapa because I don't think I thank him enough. And I want to tell you his story so that some of you who don't know who he is would feel honored to know him. You see, Mahakasyapa was one of the foremost disciples of the Buddha when the world honored one was still alive. And he was named the ascetic number one. Buddha had 10 foremost disciples, and some of them had the title, like Mahakasyapa is ascetic number one. Maudalagayana is like magical power number one. And the great Anand is good memory number one. Yes. There are more. Sariputra is the wisest, for example. And according to a Buddhist legend, Mahakasyapa, the real Mahakasyapa, the monk, one of the foremost disciples of the Buddha, is still alive today on earth and meditating in a place, maybe a cave in a mountain, which is named Chicken Foot. I want to tell you about Mahakasyapa so that you know how great he is, even as a human, as a person. Not to talk about a saint. He really is a saint. He kept his discipline. In Buddhism, you have 13 very strict disciplines which you have to adhere to in order to be called the best ascetic. Mahakasyapa, he's supposed to be still in that chicken foot mountain, and many people went there for pilgrimage and buying souvenir stuff from there. They believe the souvenir have blessings from the great Mahakasyapa. But he himself, the real monk, is staying in that mountain. Nobody can see him, of course. He's hidden inside a cave within the mountain. But he himself has just a manifestation body. And that body is in China as a human, just doing what we're doing as a human. So Mahakasyapa has a manifested physical body on earth, just like a human. Just like I told you before, the king of Karma lives near Australia. I don't want to tell you. I don't want you to go there, run around looking for him. As a human, in a human body, but he is a king of karma, and he's still doing his job, both in the human world as well as in the invisible world, like astral world, for example. We talk sometimes, yeah. Now, Mahakasyapa was a great being, a great saint. As a monk, he lived totally opposite to his life before in the mundane world. He was the son of a very rich family, so he had everything he wanted and lived in luxury. But since young, he always wanted to be a renunciate, to practice spiritually. He didn't want to stay in the house, continue his business, or enjoy the luxury. Just like the Buddha, he was a prince, but he renounced everything just to look for enlightenment, to attain Buddhahood. Mahakasyapa was even married to a beautiful woman, the most beautiful woman that anyone could see at that time in that province, or maybe in the whole country. Mahakasyapa never wanted to marry, but his parents wanted him to marry, of course, because he's a son, and he will inherit all their business, their properties, and he will have children for them and all that. So they really kept pressuring him to marry, but he said he doesn't want to. And they keep pressuring him. So one day he asked a very famous, very good sculptor, who makes statues, to make a statue as the most beautiful woman you can ever imagine for him. And he brought it home. He said, parents, if you want me to marry, this is the kind of girl with virtues, with the heart who wants to also devote to spiritual practice. Then I will marry her. Oh, that was difficult for the parents to find such a beautiful girl. They didn't even know where. And then he said, okay, then let him leave home to beg for alms everywhere in the world, anywhere in the country at least, to find that woman for them. So the parents, because of the prospect that he is going to marry, let him go. So even then he was very young, but he already had this kind of monk mentality, monk spirit, monk's heart. So he went out, left the family behind, taking nothing, and with a begging bowl, went for alms and walked from one place to another, making that excuse just to find a spiritual teacher worthy to teach him. He was very intelligent as well. He knew many things, he learned everything, and he was perfect in many ways. So many teachers also could not continue to teach him anymore. But as fate would have it, the parents somehow had a friend who found this beautiful girl who looked exactly like the statue that he had made, even though he never met her before. So he had to marry. And the girl that the parents wanted him to marry also had a similar spirit like him. Didn't want to marry, just wanted to find a master and practice spiritually. So somehow she was very sad to have to be forced to marry because her parents were so eager to marry her because his family was very, very rich and he was also good looking, educated, virtuous, gentle, sweet, and all that. So she could not, argue with the parents. In the old times, whatever your parents said to you, you just had to obey, especially in the matter of marriage. They picked your partner for you. They picked your husband, your wife for you, and you couldn't say no. Yes, but mostly they would consult their astrology, the expert to see if both of them have a compatible spirit, like almost the same things, and have similar family heritage, a richness. Otherwise, there might be conflict. And they ask the astrologers whether or not the children are compatible, whether or not they will be okay. Many other things they ask to make sure before they marry their children to each other. If that family has money and all that, otherwise, if it's just a poor family, they just do it. Mostly, maybe they couldn't care too much, they couldn't afford too much. Now, both of them married, but they didn't know each other before, of course. And Mahakasyapa doesn't want to do anything with the wife. So in the evening, the girl was crying, after the wedding night, she was crying. And then Mahakasyapa asked her what's the reason. At first, she didn't want to say because she couldn't believe that she had such a good husband like Mahakasyapa. But finally, after asking many times, she told him that she doesn't want to have any physical contact with any man. She doesn't want to be married. It's just because her parents forced her into this marriage, and now she's going to be ruined and doomed, being a wife. So, he was so happy to hear her say that. She just wanted to practice spiritually, wanted to find a real master. She didn't want any kind of mundane, physical, thing at all. And then he told her also his ideal. So they talked to each other, exchanged ideas. They both were very, very happy. So they decided that they would stay together, no problem, and help each other to find the master somehow. Whoever finds first will tell the other, yes. by chance or by any news or any other person's recommendation. So they didn't sleep with each other, yeah? They have 2 beds, slept in 2 separate quarters. And until their parents found out, they didn't like that. So then they had only 1 bed. They were forced to sleep in 1 bed together. But then they had the solution, like one slept and the other walked around or sat in meditation in the other corner, on the floor. And they took turns to do that. Therefore, they never had to sleep together, touching each other in bed. That's the kind of marriage they had. After they married, one day the wife was eager to maybe like run away or something to find a master to practice, to be liberated, to be enlightened. But Mahakasyapa told her, just wait a little longer, We can't just leave the parents like this. And he was very filial as well and a good son. So after some years, the parents died. And then the son, Mahakasyapa, sold all the properties and shared it with the servants who have been working in his house in his parents' time since he was young, and also gave it to the poor people in the vicinity. And then both of them just went on their way, just left a little bit, enough for survival. Mahakasyapa said to the wife, the road is long and rough outside, so you stay here, wait for me. If I find a master, I will come back for you. So Mahakasyapa kept going everywhere, and he found many so-called masters, but he didn't feel like they were worthy enough for him. And then one day he met Sakyamuni Buddha, and just after some conversation, he knew this was the one. He was so eager to be his disciple. He knelt down on the floor and begged for it. And so he became the Buddha's disciple, yes, a monk. And then he was so happy, studied with him, went out begging and then studied and meditated. Everything was so good and peaceful. That's just the way he wanted. And he became an arhat in no time. But because before that, he had even been going out baking and eating only once a day already. So when he followed the Buddha, he continued the same. And Buddha praised him. And Mahakasyapa, when he was very old already, the Buddha even advised him, told him that he should eat some better food with them, with the Sangha monks, so that he would have better health, a better body. But Mahakasyapa said no, he cannot. He was so used to eating one meal a day, he used to this kind of discipline, 13 rules of discipline. So he could not change. So the Buddha said, okay, it's good. You can stay that way. Yes, as long as you're all right. And Mahakasyapa was all right, and he is still all right. And I'm very indebted to him. I want to tell him again that I treasure the gift of Buddha's Sarira very much, very much. I don't know how to find words to express how much I appreciate it. And Mahakasyapa also sent me a bowl, like an alms bowl, a begging bowl, and some small pieces of yellow cloth.
Mahakasyapa is still sitting in Samadhi in Chickenfoot Mountain, waiting for Maitreya Buddha to appear in the world. At that time, he will give Maitreya the bowl which the 4 heavenly kings gave Shakyamuni Buddha and which Shakyamuni Buddha gave him, and his work in this world will be finished. A commentary by the venerated Master Xuan Hua, vegetarian, of the Assembly of Arahat Sutra, the Amitabha Sutra.
I want to thank you with Mahakasyapa for being so kind to me. We were friends in earlier lives, and we were good with each other, compatible. Thank you for the relics of the Buddha. Thank you for the bowl, like the arms bowl, the begging bowl for the monk. And thank you for the pieces of beautiful yellow cloth as well. But I guess I can't use any of these things that you have brought. The relics are too precious to just use them for anything else. And the bowl, I think I keep it for a souvenir. I'm worried if I use it to eat, and it might go kaput by chance somehow. So I want to keep that for a souvenir and for revering. Now, Mahakasyapa, he was already an ascetic, so spiritual, he learned some with other masters before the Buddha. So how come he still had to find the Buddha in order to realize his holy position as an arhat in a short time? Why did he have to do that? Huh? Why? Because he knows you have to have a guide, you have to have an expert, you have to have this master who transmits the way to you with the master energy attached to it, in the beginning at least, to help you to go back into the inside realm where you belong. Yeah, and then slowly you walk home from the inside realm.